Hello and welcome to Uncovered, the podcast with your host, Jason Irving. Join me in a journey to understand what's truly happening in your world and the world around you. This is not about how you're living life on the surface. It's about what's truly driving you from under the covers. I'm going to take you on a journey to deeply uncover the reason why you are here, the ultimate purpose in your problems and the way that they have shaped your life up until now. See, I believe you have a purpose, and your problems are the highway towards ultimate realization of that journey towards freedom and the reconnection of your true self. I've been told I have a different spin on most things, and I'll be giving you my understanding of life, love, and what we're all here for, purpose. To get the best out of this podcast, drop what you already know so you can discover what's beyond you. So join me, let's play this game of life and bring on liberation, transformation, and change. Let's do this. Hey guys, welcome to Uncovered. I've got this amazing person that I know very, very well. Her name's Julie, and we're going to be talking about body confidence today. So welcome, Julie, to Uncovered. I'm really excited to, talk about your journey, where you come from, what you do, and just give us a little bit of an idea about, who Julie is.
Yeah. Thank you for having me. It's taken me a little while to get on here because of body confidence. But yeah, for me, I've always been quite a shy, introverted person. I didn't say too much, and my mum tells me I was a pretty easy baby, a pretty easy kid. I was never any trouble. So I think when I look back at photos of me, even as a kid, you can tell that I'm quite inward. So being seen and being in the spotlight or being shown has always been a very big challenge. And I think when you're a kid, it's much easier because you're not so self-conscious, and you're not really thinking about what other people are thinking about you when you're younger. So you have a lot more of that sort of fun and freedom.
Yeah, it's one of those really interesting things. Like we get to a certain age where something starts to click and we worry about what the world thinks of us. It's usually around about 7, 8, and it really hits us in high school.
Definitely.
Especially for girls, you start getting your boobs, you start, your body starts to change, you get your period. Like ours is not anywhere near as noticeable as you guys.
Yeah.
So it's a very different phenomenon for girls as opposed to guys. Would you agree?
Definitely. I feel like maybe around the age of 11 or 12 is when my body started to change and develop. And we weren't the kind of family that spoke about bodies and what happens to them. So you were just kind of figuring things out on your own. And I could feel even the shame around even saying the names of body parts, when I was younger. So we had these sort of special names and secrets that when we wanted to speak about that, we sort of would say these words, or if we needed something, we would, it was like a code. It was this sort of code.
Yeah, wow.
So it was uncomfortable, it was embarrassing, and you were just kind of alone figuring it out on your own.
And look, what you're saying, Julie, is something that so many people sort of do. We all have to figure it out because we never, like, I got this red book. That was my sex talk.
Yeah.
And I was just like, okay, what the heck is that? I didn't read it.
Yeah.
But it was put on my desk, and that was pretty much that generation of not really communicating about the body and those sorts of things. And it's really different now. That our generation really got no education so much. I remember they did sex education, and that was just so uncomfortable, wasn't it?
Yeah. And it was funny, and even my girls are 12 now and they're just starting in year 7. We were talking about it yesterday, and Ivy's a little bit more open to saying the words, and Madison's a little bit like, oh, that's weird, that's embarrassing. So it's that communication, and I'm just saying to them, they're just words, like any other word, it's just a word. So I guess it's the meaning that gets attached to those words that you carry, I think, with you.
Yeah, 100%. So like I've triggered you a few times, like being positive.
Yeah.
It's interesting, listeners, where, I think you're beautiful, right? And every time I've said that to you, you've shut down, haven't you?
I can feel my body just go.
Yeah, and so
that's a really interesting one where we would like to actually feel this way or think this way,
Yeah,
but if someone exposes that sort of word to somebody,
yeah,
for you and your tribe of people that you help, it's like it doesn't feel comfortable,
yeah.
that word, does it?
No, you
So
kind
tell
of
me about what that does. Like what was beauty to you? Like what happened that
mm,
switched the chords that somewhere along the line that
mm,
became not okay?
yeah. I remember certain words like if women exposed parts of their bodies or showed too much skin, then there were certain words that were used that weren't very nice. So I just remember thinking, well, if those words are associated with beauty, then um, like, or not, I should say they were associated with not beauty. So it meant that you weren't loved. Like if you were that, then you wouldn't be loved or accepted, you
Yeah,
know?
okay.
So covering up was safer so that you weren't exposed and then judged um, for that.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
listeners, we were in a generation where clothes were big for girls and boys, weren't they?
Yeah.
Everything was really sloppy
Baggy.
and
Yeah.
baggy.
Yeah.
Because of our generational, in my opinion, it would have been our
Mm,
generational
yeah.
shame around our bodies was so strong then that
Yeah.
everything was three sizes too big. So then no one knew what the body actually looked like. And it's so different
Yeah.
now. Girls are going in G-strings
Mm,
to the beach and that
yeah.
sort of thing. And it just wouldn't even be a consideration for
I
our
know.
generation to actually be even going there
Yeah,
in
that's
that
right.
in that that's a bedroom thing for us,
Mm,
isn't it?
exactly.
So how do you handle like, you've got two beautiful young
Mm,
girls and they're stunning
mm,
young girls. How do you handle, helping them when you've really had to you've had to really learn to open up
yeah.
around your body confidence and you've got these two stunners.
Mm,
All your kids are extremely physically beautiful
yeah.
looking kids.
Hmm.
Your three boys and your two girls. How do you sort of talk them through stuff
Mm.
when you have not had that register?
Yeah, I think it's funny, like you'll either go one of two ways. It's like you'll do what was done to you, or you'll do the opposite because you don't want them to experience what you did. So I went that way.
You went the opposite?
Opposite.
Okay.
Yeah. So it was like I know how badly it feels to be in a body that you don't feel safe in, you don't feel comfortable in, you don't feel right. Like it feels like there is something wrong with you.
Yeah.
So interestingly, I have a single boy and then I had twin boys and twin girls. So
Identical, by the way, listeners.
identical. So identical genes, and yet to see personalities that can be so different. Like I really wanted to celebrate the uniqueness of them. So I didn't want them to feel like they had to be the same, like mum growing up for us, it was like we had three girls, we all had blonde hair, blue eyes. We were often dressed the same and like it was just easier. My mum was a busy mum and she just had to get things done. She was often on her own. So it made sense, but I guess that's sort of you're treated the same. So identical twins are often treated identically.
Yes.
And I was just like, I don't want that for them. I want them to understand that they're beautiful and they're perfect exactly as they are. And perfect as in with your imperfections, you're perfect. You don't have to fit into a mold. You don't have to be anything that's expected of you. Like you can be who you are and that's enough. So I think I've always had that driving and making sure that my kids feel loved for who they are and celebrated for who they are and how they look and beyond their body. So you have a body, and I think it's really important that you're taking care of it and that health is a really top priority. But who you are as a person is a massive part of that too. So I think that got lost, when I was growing up. So
Yeah.
it was very much about appearances matter and how you look matters, and you've got to put on that front, and people are judging you, and you have to make a good representation of your family and of your parents. And it was a massive reflection how you behaved and how you looked, what people thought of you. So
Yeah, and that was a
yeah,
generational
it was
thing.
just a
That
generational
was
thing.
just really normal. So
Yeah,
it's not bagging the parents out.
no,
That's just part of the way in which that
yep,
generation did.
that's
And
right.
it's one of the things that I think is really interesting now is that we quite often have gone to the opposite extreme.
Yeah,
and gone the other
So
way,
exposed.
right? So exposed and let's be confident with everything.
Yeah.
And sometimes it can go a little bit too far,
Yeah.
right? And it's knowing how to be comfortable with your body, flashing it off. Is that right? You know, it's up to you, listeners, what you choose to
Yeah.
do. That there quite often we go and bounce from one side to the other, don't
That's
we?
right. Yeah.
So for you, Julie, you know, you've done an amazing job. I know what your kids like because I've spent time with you. Your kids are amazing creatures. They're just phenomenal people, and they are very, very different, right? And it's so interesting to see the personalities and the way that you've really constructed yourself. And while you're still feeling, you know, unconfident, so. You know, my wife knows you very well. I think you're hot and I think you're sexy, right? And so, but those words do not
Yeah.
resonate to you, do they?
Sexy? No,
So
definitely
what
not.
happens with that?
I feel my energy go, oh, shrink. I
Yeah.
feel it shrink. And I hear words like, you know, slut. That was sort of a big word back in the
Yeah,
80s.
that was the 80s word, yeah.
Tart, you know.
Yeah, so sexy related to that.
Floozy, like
Yeah.
you will,
Uh-huh.
you know. Yeah, I won't go any further.
Yeah. So
But
it
yeah,
puts you in
that's where it goes to that unsafe, you're not good enough, you're a disgrace, that sort of thing.
Yeah, so it's so interesting how words can do that because you know
Yeah.
you've got big boobs, you know, and it's just like, and here's a really interesting thing. You've had this issue with body confidence. All three of your family members, right? Blonde hair, blue eyes.
Yeah.
Blonde hair, blue eye, listeners, is actually the most exposed besides the red nuts. You know, red nuts are probably the most looked at because red hair is just like, oh my God, look at the ranger, because I was a ranger, right? So I was always looked at, not because of looks, just because I had a red hair and everyone said, you know, carrot top.
That's right.
Now you would have got stared at.
Yes, and I didn't like it.
Yeah. And so it's so interesting these days where there's this desperate desire to be looked at.
Yeah.
And then our generation has this sort of weirdness around, you know, is it okay to be looked at? You know, what are they looking at?
Yeah,
You know, and how our mental mind goes into really different places where everyone's going, let's show a picture of me any way but loose now. That it's not necessarily the same.
No. And when I see people, you know, like if I see women on the beach and I see their bodies and they're not perfect and I can look at them and I can really admire and I love their confidence and I think, I wish I had that level of confidence. And so I can see how my version of that looks different. I don't have to be exposed to be confident. Like it is an internal feeling. And it is really about knowing and valuing who you are as a person and accepting that, you know, not everybody looks the same and everybody has their imperfections and you can still love yourself even with these flaws, you know, but no one is perfect. I mean, I've been doing endermology for 20 years now, so I see every kind of female shape that comes in the door and there is never one that is exactly the same. And yet everyone has that feeling still, even though they present confident, there is still internally, there is this disconnect, like I'm still not good enough. And I think that's where a lot of, you know, women go down this road where they're changing their bodies and they're doing plastic surgery and these invasive treatments and they're looking for that place to feel really comfortable. But it's not working. Like it's even though I've changed the outside and I'm looking a certain way, there's still a discomfort, you know, internally.
Yeah, otherwise people wouldn't do it. So, you know, you're just so people, listeners, for you know, Julie does endermology, which is basically a machine that goes over the body to actually look after the contour and you know, helps the body become healthier and look better. Is that correct?
Yeah, always people are coming in with that initial intention, you know, it's aesthetics. It's about, there's this part of my body I don't love and I'd like it to look better. And we start there, but then we go a lot deeper into, well, what's the story behind that, you know? But it is designed, it's 100% natural. So we're not harming the body. We're not putting anything in the body. We're actually getting the body and the skin and the cells to function as they should. But because of, you know, environmental factors, there's emotions, there's the mental factors that affect how our body functions. It's really getting people to really reconnect with their bodies again. And although we come in from that aesthetic, physical point of view, which I said, super important, we want to be looking after it as we're getting older and the body ages naturally, and we still want to feel beautiful and look beautiful. But we got to figure out where that line is when we've crossed it and we're going into, well, who are we really doing that for?
Yeah. And I would you agree that I would suggest this is more of a woman thing, that women dress and look for society. They don't actually know how to do it for themselves as a general rule. Men are not necessarily as much, but it's getting more so these days. Men are getting more conscious of what they want to look like and how they should look. That it's like we got permission to be fat.
I know.
Whatever. Like, you know, and I want to ask you this question because you and I are very, very strong on health, right? You know, and we look at healthy bodies. We're not really looking at you know, a body saying it's fat or not fat. And I just did say fat just then, but what we're talking about is a body being overweight and not being healthy. And there is a really important part of this because somewhere along the line there became this body acceptance instead of a body health routine. And I know how passionate you are around body health. And you've spent a lot of time, you know, doing investigation with all sorts of things health, haven't you?
Definitely.
How have you handled like looking at, you know, how people are doing this body acceptance, which we need to get right, don't we? So how do we do this?
I think the idea is right. Like, I think we're all pushing the boundaries of where we've felt contained. Not just in our bodies, but, you know, like all this gender conversation that's being had. And I think it's just we're trying to push those boundaries to get to a place where it's like, I'm not going to be told anymore how I should look or who I should be. I want to be who I want to be. But in doing that, we swung so far to the other direction where it's like giving yourself permission to just eat whatever, not care about yourself, and people have become overweight. And it's not healthy to be carrying, I don't believe, all of that extra weight. The body is not designed to hold that much.
No, it's not.
You know?
And the thing is, you know, for people who are, you know, carrying extra weight who are listening to this right now, this is not about shaming you. This is about health. Right. So quite often when we're helping people around, you know, confidence with their bodies, we've got to show them like health is the key, isn't it?
It is. Because if you focus on that first, then you will naturally lose body fat. Like if it's not about weight, but it's actually about health, then you lose all that fixation on the number. You know, I was talking about this lady yesterday to this client, and she's like, oh, I can feel my body changing, but that number on the scale, it's still the same. So it's like there's so much invested in this number. But I said to her, it's not about the number, it's how you feel in your body. Like, how are your clothes fitting? How are you moving different? How's your mobility? How's your pain? There's so many other things to consider, that it's not just this one number, because there is so much more to the body than that. And if you focus on health, you don't even know what that number is really. It's like you just reach a spot where you go, I feel good in my body now, and that's your number. So rather than setting all the expectations around what the number has to be, and it's nice to have a bit of a guideline so that you're working towards something, but it can't be the thing that defines you. You know,
100%. Look, I really can't stand these, you know, these walking things where you've done how many steps and all these sorts of things. You actually lose perception of where you actually are.
That's right.
You know, I go around the hill. I don't even know, but I know my friends know exactly how many steps it is and how many kilometers it is to go around, and I just walk around because I enjoy you know, getting that health and that sort of thing. And I think you're right. Like, imagine if no scales existed. Right?
You would just go by feel, right?
We go by feel. We'd have to.
We'd have to.
Right? And I think we need to learn how to go properly by feel.
Exactly.
Because when people started doing body acceptance, they started doing disassociation, in my opinion.
They didn't want to even go on the scale. Like, I have some clients who are terrified of the scale. And I know that it's when they step on there, it means now I'm going to have to do something,
Yes.
you know, and it's that avoidance and that disconnection to the body. It's like if I don't look, then I don't have to face it.
Yeah.
And that's not good either. So I always try to encourage people, if you are avoiding something, you should go towards it, you know.
Yeah, and I think that's really important. Like,
Yeah.
you know, I've been trying to get you on this podcast for I don't know
Yes.
how long.
A long
And
time.
you know, and it's been one of those things because it's like, am I smart enough? You know,
Yeah.
you've got so many patterns that run
Yes.
inside of you that
Yeah.
says I can't.
I'm stupid, I'm ugly, I'm disgusting, you
Yeah.
know, and I'm terrified of judgment and criticism and all those sorts of things. But, you know, I know that I'm not going to get the life I want if I just keep allowing that to drive my decisions.
Yeah.
So it's just, okay, the fear is going to be there. I've done enough work to know that it's never going to go away. It's not an emotion you can ever get rid of. It is temporary when it lasts, you know, it's there, but then it disappears. So I think that's the thing with emotions, is that they come and go, and they should come and go, but you're never going to get rid of an emotion completely. So if you're waiting for fear to disappear, it's not going to go anywhere. You know, like you just have to do the thing and then the fear goes away.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
this, you know, I've been challenging you to expose yourself for a while now,
Yeah.
and it's really nice to see you stepping into that, you know, and helping people with probably one of the most painful life things is body confidence, because you know, no matter whether you're flaunting your body or you're covering your body up, we are going to get older.
Yeah.
Right? And as we get older, women have a certain period at between 47 around, it starts, and this fear of getting old, because women become invisible and men get this, it's fucked because men get more distinguished and wise, so it doesn't matter, but women get more invisible. And so when we've seen, you know, our generation of movie stars, they don't look, the women don't look anything like what they looked like when we saw them, because they're so they put so many needles through their body, you know, and you look and you go, what happened to you? And you know, I would imagine how damaged because they wouldn't have gotten parts.
That's right.
So you know, and then that association from the movies goes to the general population and go, okay, that's what beauty is.
That's
And
right.
so we're getting this distortion right now, because I watch a movie now and I go, oh, that person hasn't done Botox.
It's a miracle.
They lifted their eyebrows and actually things moved. Whereas now it's like a general consensus in the movies that nothing moves.
There's no expression. There's no, but I think, actually, I heard something recently. It was on the news and they were talking about how this effect with Botox now is limiting our capacity to be able to read body language. You know, because we can't see, we can't use our senses to tune in. So we're left sort of confused, and that just creates even more disconnect. So I feel like, I mean, my idea of aging has always been to age well. You know, I like the idea of aging gracefully. I feel like when you're freezing your face and you're doing all these things, eventually it catches up, because you're not doing your entire body. So you can tell a woman who is in her 50s and 60s who's had work done. So you never fully escape it. And I feel like it's nicer to just get to know yourself as you're getting older, and still there are things you can do that are natural, that are complementary to the body. The body likes it. It actually feels really invigorated and rejuvenated, and we want to be taking care of our skin, because it is something that does, you know, we reduce the amount of collagen that our body's producing, and it's not as elastic, it's not as thick. So there are things we can do. But, you know, studies are showing now that there are long-term effects, you know, from these injections, and women, I think, don't notice it until much later, and then it's too late. So there is a healthier way to do it, and it's, you know, eating well, it's moving your body, it's being present, it's reducing stress, drinking water, you know, reducing all those sort of inflammatory foods and things in our diets. And like there are so many things you can do, but I think a lot of people don't want to do those things, and they go for the quick fix.
We're looking for the quick fix. And the thing that you have, which is amazing, your machine and what you do, you're the people who are really lucky to see you, in my opinion, because if someone's done any of the injectables, you have a system that can actually deconstruct the
Yes,
injectables and it's a quick fix.
that's right.
It takes a bit of time,
Takes
but
a
it
bit of time,
actually
yeah.
fixes the
It
structure,
softens
softens
the
everything,
tissue.
puts everything back together,
Yeah,
while they've got this beautiful woman actually helping them understand their psychology
yeah,
and
yeah,
their emotions. Because you've told me this, that everyone just tells you what's really going on
yeah,
in your world, so they don't just get this opportunity to reconstruct, they're getting an opportunity to reconstruct their insides.
that's right.
And I think this is really important. So you have one of the hardest jobs, but you also have one of the most liberating jobs, because to be in a place where your problem is your purpose, you've never felt good in your body, and then you attract people who don't feel good in their body, and they tell you everything that's going on about how they feel about themselves. Yeah.
Yeah, they feel safe. And I think that's the biggest thing, is being in a space where you feel safe being yourself and being accepted for who you are, and not having those expectations that you need to be anything else and that is enough, who you are. It's sort of this place where they get comfortable, and then they can go out into the world and, be themselves everywhere.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
And so, Julie, like, what if we're looking at, for the listeners to maybe understand something, what's one thing, like a starting thing, when if someone's feeling uncomfortable with their body, what's a starting thing that they could do or think about? And I believe we all need to get help.
Yeah.
But what could they sort of, because I know that you're an independent researcher.
Yeah.
And I know you've got things coming out that are going to help people, do things themselves and find a way themselves. So there's avenues that you do. What is it that you would suggest that people could start with to help themselves find some confidence in a very confusing world of body design? What do you think is the best option for people?
I think back to my early days when I started working on myself, it was, how do you find value in yourself beyond your body? So, and it means you've got to start doing things that maybe you're a little bit too scared to do. And I did start with a little bit of physical stuff. So I remember it was you that said to me, Julie, just start with that one button, just one button. And it's not that one button was exposing anything, but it was just this, let me just see what happens if I just go one button down, And I had ladies who were even afraid to show their ankles, or wear shorts, like just something small that allows you to go out into the world and go, hey, nobody's saying anything, nothing bad is happening. And you start to realize that the stories are in your head, and the biggest judger is you. It's not actually out there. And I get that social media nowadays, there is a lot of hate, but people are hiding behind those profiles where there's no pictures. And I think you just need to ignore that, but listen more to the people that are around you that you trust. And I think for me also in the beginning, it was accepting compliments. Yeah. And a lot of people, if you're afraid of rejection, what you're actually doing when someone is giving you a genuine compliment is rejecting them. And when I learned that, like that person is being vulnerable in that moment and they're sharing an honest truth, that they see something in you and you're rejecting that, then you're rejecting them. And I thought, oh my God, I don't want to reject them. So I started to just listen and go, maybe there is another version of what's in my mind that could be true. That's not what I'm saying about myself. And when people were starting to say nice things and they were starting to value me, and sometimes it was complimenting what I was wearing or how I looked that day, but other times it was who I was being in that moment. And they would say, I really trust you. I feel safe with you. And I thought, maybe there is more to me than just my body. Mm. So I think in the beginning, they were just a few things that I started to do just to challenge my perception of myself, but then challenge my confidence by doing things that I didn't think I could do, and realizing that, maybe I can do that. And people would always say to me, what do you mean you're not confident? Like,
yeah, no one would pick that in you.
Can you hear yourself? You don't sound like this shy, introverted person that you describe. So it's like I hadn't quite caught up to where I was. So I had to start believing the version that other people were seeing over my own internal version, which was, very negative and not a nice story in my
Yeah, I
own
love
mind.
that. And it's really nice to see that, you're really starting to blossom into another version of yourself now. And it doesn't matter when and how you do it. It's like, I've got another question for you though. I love your answer there. This is all about, what's the step that, you think people could take to actually learn body health over body acceptance? What transition point do you think people need to sort of think about to know how to do that? Because quite often when I suggest someone who's maybe carrying a little bit more weight, how about you stop doing this? They go straight to shame or they go straight to something, and I'm saying this is for your health.
Yeah.
Like, how do you convert that person to
Yeah.
understand that health is more important than the acceptance part?
Yeah. I think it's where do you want to be sort of at the end of your life? Like how do you want to be living? I know for me, I want to be mobile. Like maybe I use a little bit of fear in a way.
Wow.
You know, it's like how do I want to be at the end of my life when do I want to be in a home? Am I going to need people to actually support me? Like I want to be mobile. I want to be functional. I want to be able to move around and go and do the things that I want to do in my life. So if I'm not taking care of my body, then I'm not going to be able to do that. And I guess if I look at I'm a pretty independent person, and to lose that independence, when I'm older, that's scary to think of. So that's a pretty good motivating factor for me.
You and I are like conjoined twins,
Yeah.
right? I have the same thing. I
Yeah.
actually use fear to
Yeah.
go, I look at my mum and my dad,
Yeah.
and I want to be my mum,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? Because my dad, he's got his head forward and
Yeah.
he's walking like an old man,
Yeah.
all wobbly,
Yeah.
and my mum is strong as an ox. And I just look and go, I want to be bouncing the grandkids around.
Yeah.
So maybe that's a way to look at it, because I'm the same. It's just sort of going, well, how do you want to do? Because then what you're suggesting, Julie, is health prevention.
Definitely.
So you're looking at a model to go, how do we prevent health?
Yeah. I don't want to wait for a problem. Like and I was saying to her, I was talking to a client today, and I just said to her, if I wake up in the morning and there's like a little pain somewhere, I really listen to that pain, and it's like, I don't want that to get worse. I don't want that to become a problem. So what can I do right now to, alleviate that? And it's not with a pill or whatever. It's like stretching, it's slowing down, it's going for a walk. It's those sorts of things, as soon as my body is talking to me, I'm like, hell yeah, I'm going to listen, because I've had some health issues in the past, and I've had a little bit of issues in my family. They've had a lot of health problems too. So I can also look at my family and just go, okay, we've got to make sure we're healthy, because it's in the family pool, yeah.
Yeah, so that's one of the best nuggets I've ever heard.
Yeah.
Is don't want to wait for a problem.
No.
Because what people do is, people don't know this, listeners, that you're getting cancer in your body now, right? And you don't think about that KFC or McDonald's or whatever that or the Chockies or whatever it is. You don't think about that. But if you've got that idea of I don't want to have a problem, I don't want to create a problem, then that's going to actually create health prevention, because you're thinking very differently.
Yeah.
So then you can, instead of having one piece of one whole block of chocolate, you have one piece. And it's not saying to get rid of things. It's about to have a balance. I can't have things. My body just breaks if I have certain things. So I've had to get rid of them because I wouldn't be here otherwise. It's having that ability to go, well, I can have one piece as opposed to the whole lot. So you've given probably one of the most beautiful examples of thinking, right? I love this.
I think also doing it slow and steady. Don't try and change everything all at once. It becomes overwhelming. It's unsustainable. I was saying to a client this morning, like, just where is it in your day that maybe you don't do so well? And I remember for me, I was great at breakfast, I was great at dinner, but the lunchtime, there was this overwhelm that happened in the middle of my day, and I was like, I'm failing in that point. So it was like, I'm just going to start there, so I really just started focusing on just getting that lunch sorted, and then I started working on the next thing. And, I've had clients who are addicted to different kinds of foods, and Coke, for example, I remember this one lady, and she's like, I drink a 500 ml bottle, and I was like, well, why don't you just start with a can, like 375 mils? Like, just start with that. If it's too hard and you are the all or nothing kind of person, like, just allow yourself to have it. And then what happens is you start to tune in as you reduce the amount of crap that you're putting in your body, and you start to feel better. And going back to that point that you were saying earlier, when you're carrying a lot of extra weight on your body and you've never experienced what it's like not to have it, to then sort of do it slowly and start to feel how you can move differently. And like, if you haven't got a comparison, you don't even know that you don't feel great. Essentially, like, it's once you start to feel good that you go, oh, is this how people really feel? There is another way of being. So I just say, just do it slowly. And everybody wants this quick fix. And I had this client yesterday, and it wasn't until I showed her the photos, her before and after photos, and there was a good difference. And it was like, there's still work to do. And I said, give yourself a year. And she was like, a year? And I said, yeah, like, this is 6 weeks, right? If you keep doing this at this pace and just allow yourself the time, a lot of people just aren't giving themselves the time that the body needs to change. And that's why these quick fixes and diets don't work, because nothing is going to change in that short period of time. It's unsustainable generally, and you'll just go back to what you used to do. So if you just give yourself that time and you do it slowly, it's not hard. Like, you adapt, you slowly evolve, and your body just slowly changes. And how quick does time pass these days? I mean, honestly, like, a year is nothing, really. We're only halfway through the year already, and people are like, where has the time gone? Yeah, it's incredible, isn't it? So the goal is to, take your time, basically not get stuck on, I want to not have a problem. Right. And, just really, really thinking about doing things in a gentle way for yourself. And that's probably the long-term gain that you're going to experience, rather than this, I need to get it now, like this Ozempic and all of this stuff. Like, we know, now that the science is starting to bring up cancers, diseases, and all sorts of things coming up with all the loss of bone density, muscle tone. It's massive problem. So you and I are very interesting in the way we look. We go, okay, they've just put this product out there, and then we just sit there and go, okay, 5 years time, what's the science going to bring out? And then the science brings out all the detriments, doesn't it? It does. And I never want to be the guinea pig. I don't want to be that guinea pig, like, to be the one that tries it for everybody else. I'm not willing to sacrifice myself for that. And I think that's really, really important. So look, Julie, I'm really grateful for you coming on today and providing your wisdom for my listeners here. And for you guys, I hope you've gotten a lot out of this and a lot of golden nuggets from this wizard around body confidence. And look, we'll give you all the details to find Julie. Julie's building some amazing secret sauce at the moment to help people really, really shift their gears around their health and their well-being. So watch this space, because Julie is one of those people that I'll talk for you right now. Is one of those people that actually, she really gives a damn, right? So she's not just doing stuff to make money. Yes, we run businesses. Both of us run businesses to make money. She does stuff because she absolutely cares, and her problem is yours, right? So this systemic problem of feeling comfortable in your body is a journey that she said she's never going to be able to feel like she's ever going to triumph over, which is also really, really wise and really, really mature. She's not coming in saying, I'm your superhero, I'm going to save your life. She's a very, very, very humble, amazing woman who has skill sets that you don't. So I suggest, if you need help around your confidence and you really want change, this woman is the one that you need to catch up and see. So thank you, Julie, for hanging out with me today and providing the wisdom for the listeners today. Thank you. Thanks for having me. Thanks for bringing me out of my shell and helping me be seen. Well done. We did it. So if I can do it, you can do it. Hey, thanks so much for listening to our podcast. We'd love it if you could like and share it with your friends. Our website address is www.wellnessbreakthroughacademy.com.
We also have all of the videos on YouTube under Wellness Breakthrough Academy as well. We also do small courses, live events. I have an amazing book called From Broken to Breakthrough. We'd love the opportunity to give you a hand to help you live your purpose, to find out what you're here for, to give you the direction. Our courses are amazing and we do everything really, really differently for what's happening in the world at the moment. So come and find out how we can help you break your limitations so you can live the life of your dreams. We'll chat soon.